Let's go up to 30,000 feet and look down at the nation that we love so much and see what's going on. I think if you take that perspective, you begin to see what's happening. There was an election where a man named Mitt Romney was the nominee of the Republican Party. He was one of the most honorable men. He was a straight arrow if you ever had one. He was married to a lovely wife. They had wonderful children. I mean, he was a picture-perfect man in public office, and he was very successful, Bain Capital and so forth. Well, starting in the spring, the barrage began against him. He was a plutocrat. He didn't understand women. He was brutal to his employees. He lived a life way beyond anything else. He didn't understand the common man, and on it went. The attack ads were fast and furious. So coming in to the summer and the general election, he's already weakened because of this barrage of ads against him. And then they open up with everything else. And he had a dog. They had a dog and a dog carrier on top of a car. And the dog may have gotten I don't know, a cold or something. And so he's a dog hater. I mean, it was just unbelievable what they did. And before it was over with, of course, he lost handily in the election. So the same attack machine has been going against Donald Trump. It is unbelievable. I mean, this stuff is, of course, a lot of it's self-inflicted, I know, but nevertheless, it is dirty and it's nasty. And will the Republicans ever be able to put somebody out who holds to conservative values without being trashed and eviscerated? It is the politics of self-destruction, and the Democrats are playing it to a T. That's the way it works. Doesn't matter how many people they've got that have sexual peccadillos of major proportions, how many have been indicted for lying and so forth. It doesn't matter how many have done that. It's a question of 11 years ago, there was an overheard conversation put on tape, and that's enough to disqualify a man from office. It's unbelievable. So are we going to get suckered by it? I think the Republicans are. They're running for the hills. They can't stand and fight. The Democrats, if they've got a man with moral flaws, it doesn't matter. They're going to stand around their man. And Bill Clinton, they coalesced around Clinton. They weren't going to let him get impeached. The House impeached him, but the Senate wouldn't vote it. He comes out, and the next thing you know, he and his wife have accumulated a fortune of maybe $200 million and a foundation that has a couple of billion. It's unbelievable. And he's pulling down huge fees. Hillary's getting huge fees. But this is the kind of life that we're living in America. And if we want to be a leftist, socialist nation, this is the way we're going. If we want the Supreme Court to take away the gun rights, then they will. If you want the Supreme Court to take away religious liberty, they will. If you want to open up the doors to all kinds of bizarre lifestyles, that's going to happen. And if you believe differently than that, your voice will be stilled, and there will probably be a renewal of the fairness doctrine in terms of broadcast. It's all coming. So the question is, 11 years ago, overheard conversation. Are we going to pull the chain on the man that's the Republican and give this election to Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats? That's the choice. And the Republicans are saying, yes, I think we'll do that because we don't want to be associated with something that may have a moral taint to it. It's crazy. But I worry about a nation that's letting that happen, because it happens not up ballot, all the way down the ballot. It's the politics of self-destruction, and it makes me sick. It used to be that men who ran against one another were gentlemen. They brought forth issues. The issues were put on the table. The electorate would decide which of those issues, which of those policies they wanted, and that's what they voted for. No more. And it starts, and you can see it in race after race after race. That's the game. And if we're dumb enough to get played by it, and that looks like what's happening, then we'll take the consequences. And so this may be the nastiest presidential race ever. We've got only a month left to go, but unfortunately, with this politics of self-destruction and destruction, it could get nastier, and both candidates attacking each other on the campaign trail.
And both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are dealing with leaks. Trump's videotape from more than a decade ago, and Clinton with a new WikiLeaks release about her campaign. Heather Sells has the story.
The comments on the Trump tape forced the Republican National Committee chair to call committee members on Monday and reiterate his support for Trump. But Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, is cutting ties. He said Monday that he would no longer defend or campaign for Trump, although he didn't withdraw his endorsement. One well-known theologian, Wayne Grudem, pulled his support from Trump, but evangelical leaders Ralph Reed and Jerry Falwell Jr. are still backing him. Reed and Falwell refused to defend his remarks, but said that his position on critical issues like abortion and Supreme Court nominees still make him preferable to Hillary Clinton. On the campaign trail, Clinton is taking full advantage of the fallout.
But you know, it wasn't just this one video that was so disturbing, even shocking. We have seen this kind of behavior throughout this entire campaign.
Trump's running mate Mike Pence is speaking in Trump's defense.
It takes a big man to know when he's wrong and to admit it and to have the humility to apologize and be transparent and be vulnerable with people.
Trump, meanwhile, says he'll continue to attack Clinton if any more recordings are released.
If they want to release more tapes saying inappropriate things, we'll continue to talk about Bill and Hillary Clinton doing inappropriate things. There are so many of them.
Clinton is also working to downplay a new WikiLeaks email release. The 70-page document shows a hits file against Bernie Sanders from last fall, questioning his progressive bona fides. The Clinton campaign is blaming the release on Russian President Vladimir Putin. The tape has apparently hurt Trump in the polls, but there haven't been any polls yet after his strong showing in Sunday night's debate. And with one final debate left, both Trump and Clinton will be working to win over voters while focusing on the key battleground states that will decide the White House in the Electoral College. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Well, it's a sad state. This thing has been awful, just awful. This is the greatest nation on earth, and what have we got? But, you know, I was reading, you know, Hillary Clinton, quote, potty mouth, and all the awful, awful stuff that she said behind the scenes in the White House. It's on book after book after book, these things. Filthy stuff. I mean, she said, I'm shocked. Well, she's shocked when she, you know, says, you know, denigrating remarks about people and fires people and takes over the White House travel office to give it to her friends and goes on and on and on. There's so much stuff there. It's all dirty, and it just makes you sick. I mean, we are the greatest nation on earth. How could we have fallen into this? Cannot we have high-minded, cannot we look for the highest ideals and try to elect the most noble people? Well, the answer is the most noble people don't want to get into this mess anymore because of what it gets done to them. They don't want to take the abuse. Well, the next president is going to have to face a serious international threat. North Korea's nuclear weapons program. Ephraim Graham has that story from the CBN newsroom. Here's Ephraim.
Pat, North Korea celebrated the 10th anniversary of its first nuclear bomb test on Sunday. And as Dale Hurd reports, experts warn the danger from the communist North is growing.
Repeated international efforts to stop North Korea's nuclear program have failed. And now it seems all South Korea and its U.S. ally have left is deterrence, including a preemptive strike or the threat of nuclear retaliation. South Korea's defense minister says, we have clarified several times that if North Korea shows imminent signs of using nuclear weapons, we can launch a self-defensive preemptive nuclear strike. American UN envoy Samantha Power was in South Korea for the anniversary and said the U.S. would use every tool it had, including the military, to deter North Korea. Satellite surveillance of North Korea indicates it is preparing for another nuclear test. It's not only clear that U.S. efforts to stop North Korea's nuclear program have failed, but that the communist nation intends to become a major nuclear threat. A new report from the RAND Corporation says, coupled with its missile program, North Korea could have up to 100 missile-launched nuclear weapons within just 4 years. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Pat, what do we do?
Well, that's the $64,000 question. What do we do? What we should have done a long time ago was to follow General MacArthur's advice to go all the way to the Yalu River and seal off North Korea and really destroy that fledgling dictatorship before it got underway. That's what we should have done. Instead of that, the politicians in Washington said, no, we can't have a confrontation with China. We've got to back off, and we're going to fire MacArthur, and we'll settle at the 38th parallel, and we'll go into endless negotiations. Then the next thing we started to do, Bill Clinton had an initiative. We're going to make friends with those nice people in North Korea, and we're going to give them all kinds of food. We're going to give them all kinds of aid. And because of this aid, they're going to stop this nuclear program. Nonsense. The North Koreans took the food, took the aid, and laughed at us and kept on building. They have a tiny economy. They're desperately poor, but they're spending at least probably 30 to 40% of the whole gross national product on weapons and arms. And they have a very robust nuclear program. Now, they've launched missiles out into the China Sea and the Sea of Japan, and they're saying, okay, we can threaten South Korea, we can threaten Japan. We're showing you can do that. But we're also building missiles that will reach the United States, and Kim Jong-un is saying, that's what I have in mind. Now, what do? We'll let this thing continue to simmer, and then the time will come that they will say, okay, you leave the Korean Peninsula, or we're going to decimate San Francisco. And we say, no, we can't let that happen. Well, it's going to happen unless we do something to stop it. And does that mean we go in there and bomb those facilities? We may have to do that. We may have to take a preemptive strike. But as Congressman King said, this is a crime family with a nation, and that's what it amounts to. It's a crime family with a nation. And they're dangerous, terribly dangerous. And not only that, they're exporting their nuclear technology to places like Iran. They're working together. And so we're going to be faced with nuclear-empowered nations that hate us. And our foreign policy has been feckless. We have not been resolute and strong. And we're viewed as weak, and weak invites trouble. So there we are. And now we got an election where we're worried about 11-year-old videotape of obscene comments instead of worrying about what do we do with North Korea, what do we do with South Korea, what do we do with the Taliban, what do we do with Iran. Ephraim.
Pat, families are still being evacuated after Hurricane Matthew tore through the Carolinas and Georgia, leaving several people dead and many homeless. The danger is still ongoing. 1,500 people had to be rescued Monday in North Carolina when a dam suddenly broke. Governor Pat McCrory explained the situation.
We do have people on the roofs as we speak, and we have a lot of helicopters and boats that have been deployed that are at this point in time rescuing them.
Operation Blessing is also there helping people in Fayetteville, North Carolina. They're working alongside Governor McCrory and pastors in the community.
Operation Blessing is here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We've been coordinating with local emergency management and pastors, and we spent the evening going door to door, checking on families, loving on them, and letting them know that volunteers will be here to help them starting tomorrow morning.
Operation Blessing will be helping flood victims throughout North Carolina, and they're in need of volunteers. So if you would like to help them, simply go to Operation Blessing's website, ob.org. Pat.
Well, you know, in our community here in Tidewater, the flood's still there, and people, certain areas are impassable. Roads have been washed out, big flooding still taking place, and the flood is unbelievable because we're in a sea environment where when the tides come in and they go into these streams, and the streams are swollen, and it's really a mess. It's one of those things that has hurt Haiti so badly. I said yesterday, I think 500 people. They said, it's over 1,000. and it may be much more than that. The suffering is great. Now, Operation Blessing is helping people. The number is 800 and 707,000, and that's Operation Blessing Disaster Relief Fund. And just like Fayetteville, North Carolina, wherever it is, wherever the people hurting, we want to be there for them because we care, and God cares, and we want to be His hand extended to help people. So if you want to be participating in that in any small amount or big amount, whatever, the number's there to call. Well, Ephraim, let's go ahead.
Pat, this is National School Lunch Week. If your memories of the school cafeteria bring to mind things like mystery meat, well, you haven't been to the cafeteria lately. As Lori Johnson shows us, today's school's lunches are a lot like what you get in America's most popular restaurants, only a lot cheaper.
They'll never be as good as Mom's home cooking, but today's school lunches are earning straight A's.
Well, my favorite kind of foods that I've ever gotten is their spaghetti. It's really good.
I like their chicken nuggets and the pizzas.
They haven't always scored such high marks.
A couple years ago, schools nationwide started getting serious about nutrition and began offering much healthier choices, like this fresh chicken salad. The problem was kids didn't always choose what was best for them.
New federal nutrition standards for school meals emphasize whole grains, fewer calories, no trans fats, and more green vegetables. In fact, kids are required to choose fruits and vegetables. But when those items were discovered in the trash, it was back to the drawing board.
So we're looking for things that have good eye appeal, meet, of course, the nutritional components, but also are foods that students are familiar with. That's really important.
Today, the kids are enjoying a Mexican fiesta similar to what they're used to eating at Chipotle. Other days, knockoffs from more of their favorite restaurants like Panera, all for just $2.50 a meal.
You know, we still have things like pizza or chicken nuggets on the menu, but it's not the same as it was even 10 years ago. Pizza will have a whole wheat crust and lower fat cheese and maybe turkey pepperoni instead of regular pepperoni. And chicken nuggets would be baked instead of fried, and again, they would have a whole grain breading instead of regular refined grains.
Nationwide, nearly 3/4 of schools rely on student taste tests. About half offer gluten-free options. About 2/3 offer salad bars, and 2/3 buy produce grown at nearby farms.
For example, we'll be looking at local apples. Seasonality is really important to us.
Kids still have the option of making less advisable choices, but they've learned the importance of eating right.
Do you ever get like ice cream and things like that? I noticed you didn't get any dessert.
Well, I usually get ice cream or some chips every week, like on a special occasion. If it's a special day, like my birthday or something, that's what I would get. I would get something like that.
Hi guys, welcome to the Nutrition Express.
This converted school bus is a mobile classroom.
So this is my plate. This is our healthy way of eating.
This hands-on approach means the message tends to really sink in.
What types of foods are healthy?
I think of fruits and vegetables and stuff that don't have too many calories and low sugar.
So when it comes to healthy school lunches, a three-pronged approach works best. Beefed up standards, better marketing, and teaching kids what it means to choose wisely. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Got to start young, Pat.
Hey, that's great. You know, our kids, we used to always have whole wheat sandwiches, and we thought that was so nice. Well, they'd go to school and trade them off for white bread sandwiches with some other student.
Yeah.
It was there.
Sticks to the roof of your mouth.
You think
it's
you're
not
doing
good.
the right thing. But, you know, when you're growing up, the taste buds get that way. I mean, if you have carrots and celery and, for snacks and stuff like that, and you don't give them all kinds of sweets and sweet cereals and things like that, they get used to good food. And if you train them that way, when they get older, that's what they want when they get old. They want what they had with Mama, because that was their comfort place. That's the place they liked it. So if you have nutritious food at home, before long they'll learn that's the way to eat. But we're killing our kids. You can't just turn a 5-year-old loose or a 3-year-old and say, well, he's got to choose whatever he wants. No way. You decide what he's going to eat, and he'll get used to it. The thing of it is, these little children have wonderful senses in their tongues. They have tremendous receptors for salt and for sweet and things like that. We don't as we get older. So what we do is jive these things up to make us feel good, whereas the kids could eat, you know, plain oatmeal and it would just taste delicious. We've got to put all kinds of sugar and stuff on it to make it taste good. But we don't have to do that for the little children, because God gave them the receptors to be sensitive to salt, to sugar, and these other things without having to add a lot to it.
Well, it's nice to see how positively things have changed in the school meals.
Lord.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord.
And the private teaching of that. Yeah,
all is not lost. Okay.